Stewart, we appreciate it. It seems like of late you've been more bullish on expansion. I'm curious, what's your timeline for a 10th team, and is there a particular city you'd consider the favorite for a franchise?
Oh, thanks, John. I will say that has not been a topic of our winter meetings so far. I think what you heard from me probably the last time I talked about it was over at Grey Cup State of the League and maybe a couple of updates since then. Bullish, yes. Motivated, yes. But no timelines. It's a significant process. I think most who've been following the league have known that we would love to get to a 10th team. I'm no different. Stadium issues continue to be the number one problem to solve. I think there are a couple of areas across the country where there's some opportunity. We certainly continue to receive a significant amount of inbound interest from individuals who are interested in being a part of our league. We'll continue to have those conversations, and I'll certainly update you as soon as I can.
Would it be fair to say like 2030 might be a potential goal, or is there any other timeline at work here for expansion?
Look at you trying to pin me down. I will put 2030. I would love to see a 10th team join us by 2030. I think that's a great date to focus on.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Dan Rao from the Canadian Press, please go ahead.
Here we go. The mute works fine. Stewart, how close are you to a resolution with the 2028 Olympics? Very close, or is that something that still needs a lot of discussion leading as we get closer to 2028?
Thanks, Dan. I'd say that the conversation this morning really pushed us forward quite a bit. We have more conversation to have with the Players Association, so that timing is dependent on how those conversations go. I know in speaking with the Players Association, they also are motivated because the players do want to be a part of this if they can be. So my hope, again, is that we will have, if not all details settled, at least the ones that we have control over settled prior to the start of this season.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Next question, Justin Dunk, please go ahead.
Thanks for doing this, Commissioner. We haven't had a chance to talk to you since Grey Cup, so I wanted to ask, did the CFL discipline the Argos for allegedly tampering with Corey Mace, and did that have any tie-in with John Murphy's dismissal from the team?
Yeah, we keep those conversations to ourselves, Justin. I think you know that, and so I've got no comment on that.
Understood. In that regard, why does the league believe then that transparency is important for player discipline, but not when it comes to team discipline?
Look, I think what you're seeing me do today is an example of how we are trying to push transparency forward. Publishing an agenda with a handful of the many topics we were going to discuss, and then coming through today. So I take that under advisement absolutely, Justin. I think we got to look at every aspect of our league and try and be as transparent as possible.
Thank you.
Next question, Rick Zamperin, please go ahead.
Hey, Commissioner, thanks for doing this. My question is about the replay center. Do you have the average time that it takes to come to a ruling? And will the CFL consider a replay time limit, like a shot clock or a pitch clock? Let's say 2 minutes, for example.
Well, thank you for the question. As far as I'm aware, at least certainly not this week, I don't know if it's been suggested in the past, a shot clock was not brought up specifically. I can't give you the exact time. I'm sure I can follow up, or the team can follow up with you on that in terms of an average time, but for making a call. It really comes back to clear and obvious. It is, number one, we want the officials on the field driving game flow. Make the call. And then replay center used to correct clear and obvious errors or mistakes. So that you're going to see us focused on time, but we don't want to focus so much on time that we do miss a clear and obvious play.
Just as a follow-up on the timing issue, is there a time limit in terms of start to finish game time? You know, a lot of baseball games have gone from over 3 hours to 2.5, 2:15? Is there an ideal time you would like a CFL game to last?
Well, thank you. First off, I'm very proud of our entire league and everyone involved in putting on game day presentation. In that, if you compare the CFL to the NFL or NCAA football, we run significantly faster games. We are in the 2-hour 50 mark or low 50s, and if you go all the way to NCAA, it's well past 3 hours. So, the key threshold is keeping it under 3, and that's full start to finish from a broadcast perspective, let alone game time. We don't have a specific number. We just want to continue to be as efficient as possible in providing the most entertaining product that we can on the field. And to be entertaining, you've got to manage downtime.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, Frederick Daig from Montreal. Please go ahead.
Yes. Merci, Stewart. Merci de prendre le temps aujourd'hui. My questions will be in English, though, don't worry.
I can't read your lips, so that's very helpful. Thank you.
Just a precision on the overtime format, just making sure I understood correctly. So the same rules will be kept, but what's about the 2-pointers from the line of 3? It's kind of a shootout thing if there's a tie after a quarter of overtime?
Yeah, and you know what, Frederick, thank you very much. I probably should have prefaced my entire remarks by saying that what we come out of winter meetings with are recommendations, and recommendations then go to Management Council for approval, and from there they go to the board for approval. So please know that when I'm speaking of anything that's being discussed, that's being solidified, it's as a recommendation for approval. So I'll start with that. And then in terms of specifically the overtime tie scenario is you take our current overtime format, which is too many games, and if it's tied at that after that process, under our current format, the game would end in a tie. Under a new format, then each team would get one shot at what we would call a 2-point conversion, or just the 2-point format where you're on the 3-yard line and you've got to get it into the end zone. Team A tries, if they're successful, Team B tries. If they're successful, you go again. If Team B is unsuccessful, then the game is over and Team A wins. Now, there are some details we still need to work out, and that'll happen over these next couple of months before ultimately we make the final recommendation to the board. And we're going to have all of our teams working on those details, but that's the genesis. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
And as for the field format, am I understanding that this will not be implemented for 2026?
Yeah, when we announced the changes, we said that the things like the 35-second automatic play clock, the teams moving to separate sides of the field, and the adjustment to the rouge, those types of things were happening in 26, and the field and the uprights moving back in the field itself were going to be 2027 changes.
Were there any discussions with the 3 markets where they play in a U Sport stadium regarding that so far?
Yeah, we've had many discussions with all of our team presidents and lead governors from every market, including those 3, and many conversations with U Sport. Those are ongoing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Taylor Allen, please go ahead.
Thanks for doing this, Stewart. I'm just curious, what kind of feedback did you get on the American player draft from GMs and league personnel? Were they intrigued by it? Were they confused by it? Or just what kind of things did you hear this week?
Yeah, I don't think anyone. Thank you. I don't think anyone was confused. The feedback came back to kind of like how, we put forward like we do. We kind of just generate ideas by putting a proposal forward for discussion. And the proposal we put out was, how about a 10-round draft? And so, from there you can take the feedback, adjust it, or take the feedback and get rid of it. And the feedback that we received was, focused around, okay, we're incredibly focused with a lot of resource put against the Canadian draft. We also have the global draft, and we've got a negotiation list where we know and we are managing American players through that process. And so as we talked it through, it just seemed like we were trying to find what the benefit is. And could we create something exciting and entertaining out of that? And it just seemed like, on a cost-benefit basis, it didn't make a lot of sense. But having said that, and this is what I love coming out of these meetings, you put a proposal like that, or just a thought starter like that, in front of a group of football minds, and then all of a sudden the brainstorming happens and you pivot right off of that. I mean, we went into a ton of different directions on that maybe only were tangentially related to the original proposal, but cool ideas. And there were a number there. I'm not going to get into the specifics now because they're truly not baked at all. But great homework for league staff to take back and work on, and maybe a kernel of an idea that could turn into something, not an American draft, but something a little bit different. So that was sort of the tone of the conversation.
And you guys are talking about player compensation transparency. I'm wondering, when it comes to injuries, if that's something that you guys are discussing or something you'd be open to, where there'd be more transparency with that. I mean, with the NFL, NBA, for example, I mean, a guy tears his ACL, we know even the name of the surgeon, never mind just how long they're going to be out for. Where the CFL, it's become a thing now, even with the injury reports, that it's a guessing game as to what injuries these guys have and how long they're going to be out for.
Yeah, I totally fair question. I will say that maybe not in specifically how you worded it, but the idea of transparency around injury lists and injuries was a topic of discussion, and we collectively said, look, we've got to do better here. So what does that look like? It means doing better. We've got to be more transparent. We've got to make sure that we're accurate as possible. And of course, you've seen in other leagues, there's management and competitive issues with that, but at the same time, you've also mentioned how that's developed, and there's an expectation from the fan base to understand just who is in the starting lineup and what's going on and who's out and for how long. And so I think that should continue to be a topic of focus and conversation for us.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Paul Friesen, please go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Stewart. As you pointed out a little while ago, typically rule changes go to the Rules Committee, or they start here at the Rules Committee and they go up the chain to the Board of Governors for the eventual approval. Most of these, the next 2 years, subverted that process and came down the chain. Can you remind me again why that is?
Thanks, Paul. The changes that were announced in September, we looked at those as structural changes. And what you saw happen today and these past 3 days are how do you apply them? And it's not just in relation to kind of, how's the 35 seconds clock going to work? How are substitutions going to work? Where are we going to place a ball when it's kicked through the end zone? But it goes well beyond that. It's our entire rule book and our entire game is reviewed. And so I think that was the right process for moving this forward. And we're looking forward to continuing the conversations we have with this group now.
What kind of pushback or feedback have you had this week on the changes coming up, especially next year?
Yeah, no pushback, and the feedback has been really, all right, we've got automatic play clock as an example. You can see the wheels turning. How is that going to apply? Certainly, how is it going to apply from the officials' perspective? How do we make sure that we're trained properly for the officials to implement that? And the consistency that the 35 seconds is going to deliver. How do we make sure we are supporting that as a key piece of why we move to a 35-second clock? How do the benches on opposite sides work? So it's been really encouraging to hear the discussion on the application of these rules.
So no pushback at all on field size or goalposts or end zone size?
No discussion on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. J.C. Abbott, please go ahead.
In regards to the changes in 2027, Stu, there seemed to be some uncertainty or difference of opinion amongst the GMs and head coaches yesterday in terms of whether that change is set in stone or whether it will be reviewed at any point in the future. Can you provide clarity? Is there any circumstance under which you would reverse that change or put it up for discussion?
Look, thank you. The changes announced in September were unanimously approved by the Board of Governors, and as I've said in the past, enthusiastically approved by the board, who are looking to progress our game, modernize our game, and focus on those elements that keep us the absolutely Canadian, like 3 downs and like our Canadian ratio and players and so forth. So that's our focus moving forward. We always have discussions. As I mentioned, I'm in discussion with a lot of groups in and around the football community, and I look forward to continuing those as well.
You put forth a number of data metrics or projections when you made that announcement in terms of what the changes will do, the big one being 60 touchdowns added. If that does not happen in 2027, if that number is less than that, or you see a reduction in touchdowns, would the rule changes then be up for debate at that stage?
Well, I'd say if there were 75 added touchdowns in 2027, I would not take a 1-year sample as an example of what's going to happen to our game. Coaches need time to adjust, players need time to adjust, and so no matter which way our game goes, you're going to need to build a sample of seasons to understand where the trends are leading. And then this is what these winter meetings do. We look at trends and we see how we anticipate where they're going to go, and are there any tweaks we need to make to adjust for those.
The data set that helped you come up with those numbers was not made public. I'm not sure if it was shared with the teams, but some individuals suggested that they had done their own research and come up with their own data. Was any of that shared with you either in meetings or privately?
Nothing specific. Certainly no one sent me any type of research of any kind. So we've had our football operations department that has run data across every play of every game for the last number of decades. They're the ones who compiled that data, and those are the discussions we've had.
Thank you, Stewart.
Derek Taylor, please go ahead.
Stu, thank you for doing this, and thanks for talking about data. I'm excited to ask you. Keeping the ball at the 40 on dead balls and rouges, correct me if I have that wrong, do you have a projection of how much that will increase scoring? Was that part of the discussion?
Thanks. We did not have, as at the point of discussion, when we reviewed a number of different options, we did not have specific data that would lead to saying, okay, it's going to be 1.2 times or anything along those lines, Derek. So no, I don't have a specific number for you.
Okay, was there discussion of keeping it to 30 because teams will now start 10 yards closer to the opposing end zone and to a touchdown under that, keeping it at the 40?
Well, and you're talking 2027, of course, and this rule change is implemented this year, and I guess we get to have some data. As much as I just said, 1 year is not enough of a sample, but it will be some data, and then we'll look at it again in 27 when those changes come about.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Marazzuti, please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for doing this. Question about the CFL draft, the Canadian draft. Has there ever been a discussion about changing the format for the draft to see if it gets a little more fan engagement, or whether it's doing something in person or anything of that sort?
I love the question because we had that exact discussion today. And I start with the first principle of these players being drafted in our Canadian draft and our global draft. What an accomplishment that is. You got drafted to the Canadian Football League. And we want to make sure that's recognized, acknowledged, and celebrated. And that's very important. At the same time, you think about entertainment properties. And we want to make every aspect of our league, not just from game 1 to Grey Cup, but from Jan 1 to December 31, we want the CFL to be as entertaining as possible. And so we ran through a number of ideas specific to the Canadian draft on how we might improve the entertainment value of that. Nothing firm to report, but I can tell you that discussion was had.
Thank you.
Thank you. Britton Gray, please go ahead.
Hey, Stewart, a lot of these rules that you guys have brought forward have been about making the game more consistent and having consistency a lot of places. But it seems like the league is fine with doing the final 3 minutes as something different than the rest of the game, kind of keeping that 20-second play clock. What's the reason for wanting that to be consistent or inconsistent with the rest of the game? What was there, as we mentioned, pushback that they didn't want to change the final 3 minutes?
No, I wouldn't say there was pushback on it. There was a lot of consistency in the philosophy of no lead is safe, and that was across the board. And certainly that was our intention coming in as well. So as we thought about opportunities to ensure that philosophy is upheld, we did think of hybrid models or different models just to make sure that could happen, including keeping a 35-second automatic clock consistent. When we came back to it, we decided for the 3 minutes, a very specific and unique 3 minutes in the CFL, keeping what we are doing now, but perhaps adding a layer of urgency onto our officials to blow plays in faster and get more plays in the last 3 minutes. That's where we landed after that discussion.
Coming into these meetings, a lot of coaches and GMs says there's certain topics that come up that can get, you hear a lot of viewpoints, can get heated. Was there a topic that really did kind of get a little bit heated or lead to a bunch of debate? I'm curious about that.
I'm only hesitating because I'm trying to think if there was one. We've got very big personalities amongst our coaches, GMs, presidents, and at the league office. So no one is shy. And the debate was fulsome, but I would also describe it as very healthy. I wouldn't call anything as heated. It was some opinions being shared, and ultimately, a lot of times we do get to a consensus. But if we don't, if there's very specific rules we're talking about or opportunities we're talking about, we go to a vote, and a simple majority wins. But that's after a very healthy discussion.
Thank you.
Frank Sedici, please go ahead.
Stewart, thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. Good to see you. I hope you had a happy new year and a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You too.
All right, here's my question. It starts with quarterbacks going into camp, young quarterbacks come into camp, and I think it's been a very productive thing. Essentially, building quarterbacks in the Canadian Football League and protecting them. That's my question. And has that been discussed? And are there inroads to ensuring quarterbacks complete a season?
Well, thank you for the question. It is an incredibly important topic. Player safety across the board, of course, not just at one position, but we also do recognize that the quarterback position drives the large majority of the play, and keeping our quarterbacks healthy in particular has been a focus of the league for many years. I think the stats that we had coming off of 2025 show that we had more games played by our starting quarterbacks than we have in the past. So I think the rules that have been put into place, extra, penalties for egregious hits on quarterbacks, those types of things to keep players healthy and safe. I've been very impressed with where the league has gone over the last number of years and the results that we're seeing. But I think how you led into that question was about development. And I think, and the answer is yes, that was discussed. The importance of quarterback development, young through veteran, is incredibly important. And while I don't have any tactics to report on, I can tell you a lot was discussed on that front, and certainly it will remain a key focus for all of our clubs and the league.
Thank you.
We have 6 more questions. Please limit them to just one question before we have to head back to meetings. John Hodge, please go ahead.
Stu, 2026 is the final year of the CFL's current broadcast deal with TSN. When do you anticipate a new deal being struck, and how many potential partners have shown interest in your television rights?
Thanks, John. Yes. Look, I think most leagues, and we would count ourselves among them, would love your next broadcast deal settled before your final season begins. So a self-imposed deadline on the league office, I would put as the start of this season. If it drifts past that, it drifts past that. But that would be ideal. Everyone understands kind of when we get to next season where we're going to be. We are in an exclusive negotiation window with our incumbents right now. So I can't answer any question about number of partners and things like that. We want to see where those conversations go, and then we'll see about the best path forward from there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Ralph, please go ahead.
Stewart, just to circle back to the proposed overtime format, if I may. The game's tied. We go to the 2-point conversion format. I score. Do I automatically have to go for 2 points again, or can I kick a convert to decide the tie?
So if there's two parts to that, I just want to make sure I'm following your example.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
a tie at the end of
Regulation.
regulation. Then we go to our current
Yes.
overtime format,
Exactly.
and it plays out exactly as it does currently.
Okay.
So it's only if there continues to be a tie after that.
I get that, but I mean, I'm at the 3-yard line trying the 2-point convert after the regular overtime
Yes.
format. Okay. I score a touchdown. Do I have the option of kicking a single point, or do I have to go for the 2-point convert again?
No. True. There is no secondary play.
Okay, so
you just score.
I score a touchdown and then that's it.
That's it. Correct.
Okay, no convert. Okay.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. David Morizzuti, go ahead.
Stuart, you talked a bit about the player salary cap, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the football operations cap. It was discussed at the Grey Cup. Both the head coaches had said that they would love it if, or potentially like it if the CFL did not have the operations cap. Was that something that was discussed and brought up, whether to either do away with it in the future or maybe potentially alter it the way it works?
The topic was definitely raised during the meetings. We had a discussion on that. We kind of went back to the genesis of when it was implemented, and certainly managing costs, so teams understand cost certainty as we operate in a world where a number of our teams remain unprofitable was a key part of that. But also the balance against, our coaches are so incredibly important to the development of our players and the entertainment value of the game that's being put on the field. And so this topic is present as we have our conversations with all the presidents of each club, and will remain so going forward.
And just a quick follow-up on that. Was there any also discussion about teams who have lost personnel to, not just CFL opportunities, but even opportunities down in the States as part of the maybe reason that this could potentially be changed?
Well, I think we have to look at our business from every aspect, whether it's specific to coaches or other operations people or players. As if you were finding yourself in a place of attrition, you've got to find the root cause of that and understand, are there business mechanics to address that? And then, of course, you weigh your costs and your benefits against that. So certainly, we're very focused on all of that.
All right, thank you.
Justin Dung, please go ahead.
Stewart, you said that everybody you've talked to this week, GMs and head coaches, has unanimously agreed, especially with the changes in 2027. But Danny Machocha told us directly that he had a presentation to present in these meetings. Perhaps that hasn't happened. Dave Dickinson questioned the CFL's projected increased scoring data from the mandated field changes in 2027. I quote, "They talk about 60 touchdowns. Where are they getting that from? I have no idea. I don't think you can actually predict that." And I went back and gathered some of my own data. And since 2022, in the end zone from 16 to 20 yards, there were 64 touchdowns scored. So I think we would all agree, you shrink a golf hole, you're going to make less putts. You shrink the soccer or hockey net, you're going to have less goals. How does the CFL come to the prediction that there's going to be 60 more touchdowns from your data at the league office level?
Well, first, Justin, I want to make sure you recognize the answer to the question I asked, which was that I was asked. I was asked whether there had been any pushback that I had heard so far this week, and there hasn't been. And so I didn't go around polling everybody, but there hasn't been. We've just had great discussions on what we're doing moving this league forward. We've applied all the data, which included all the changes together, right, Justin? All of them. It's not just one change. It's not just 15 yards, but it's also goalposts to the back. It's also a 100-yard field. It's a 35-second clock. It's all of it together, and that data, that we use through our league office, gave us the indication that more touchdowns would be scored. Now, just to be clear, less field goals will be scored. So this isn't about just pure net increase in scoring. It's an increase in touchdowns, likely at the expense of field goals.
Thank you.
Derek Taylor, please go ahead.
Stu, since the beginning of 2010, you guys have had 4 ties in the CFL. So why did it come up and why the change?
I was trying to remember. At 15 years, there's been 4 ties. I thought it was 10 years, but 15 years. You're right. It's not a key example, but I think in those 4 ties, maybe 1 or 2 were in the relatively recent history, and so those still leave a mark. And I think for those involved and those observing, we remember that. And so it's just one of many topics. I think, Derek, I hope everyone recognizes that what I'm talking about today, some of these key areas, are just some of many. And this was one, and everyone said, hey, quickly, no, none of us like ties. Is there a format that can solve that? Knowing that this might be 4 in every 15 years or 4 in every 10, however it may be.
Thank you.
JC Abbott, please go ahead.
Stewart, at Grey Cup, you indicated that you didn't want to see a repeat of last year where the salary cap increase based on revenue sharing was announced so late that it interfered with free agency. I'm wondering if you can provide a timeline on when that announcement will be made this year and whether you project a salary cap increase based off of revenue sharing.
Thank you. Yes, I think that simply was unacceptable last year and cannot happen, and it won't happen this year regardless of which way it goes. I won't answer your question specifically. We still have conversations we need to have with the Players Association. I will say that I was very pleased, regardless of the poor timing of announcement. I was very pleased with the fact that we could recognize revenue growth to that extent last year, and I'm feeling very good about where we're heading this year based on our 25 numbers. And then to answer your question about when we will announce, I'm expecting that shortly.
Thanks, Stewart.
Final question, Frank, please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to ask a follow-up question. This one, I'd like to characterize it as a team question, and the team being the league and all the separate franchises that make up the league. Has there been any conversation about the in-game experience and try to help to induce fans to come not just to watch the game, because that seems to be the trend in sports today?
I think you're absolutely right. I think you would have 10 parties agreeing to that at the league office, and the 9 clubs all would absolutely agree with that comment. And as I went around the country right from the start of the season and through to finish at Grey Cup, I've been impressed with each of the teams' game day operations, and that starts with a tailgate, most likely, all the way through to what's happening in stadium, on the concourse, thinking about fan experience, music, entertainment at half. All of that is incredibly important because games have become such social experiences. And the ticket buyer can be segmented very differently. Some are like me. I like to sit in a seat and I like to watch a game. But others would like maybe a much more social experience where they don't even sit down. And I would say all of our clubs are addressing that kind of segmentation and making sure they're delivering a product and an experience for anyone who wants to come and have a great time. And one of the things that I love about being part of the CFL and being part of football is that every game is an event and every game is meaningful because we have a scarcity of product. And when you have a scarcity of product, you can put so much emphasis on those home games in preseason, through regular season, hopefully into playoffs, and really focus on those entertainment experiences and not experience any blahs that might happen over a longer season. So I'm impressed. It is 100% a key area of focus and will be so moving forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes Stewart's media availability from the winter meetings.